So again, I'm going to talk a lot about, in this case, mobile tagging and publishing. We've done about 200 print to mobile campaigns here in the last 90 days. So my goal is just to talk about what do you do after you scan, and I'll set up what I mean by action codes and mobile tagging here in a second, and just what are best practices? What are the response rates? What are the engagements? How do you get a good experience? So basically, tagging is the ability to use your phone as a direct response vehicle. And there's many types of tags out there. The predominant, the Kleenex of the industry, if you will, is QR code, and there's Microsoft Tag. And so both involve using your phone to scan and then get a direct response. So I'm going to start off, the most recent one we did was Sports Illustrated. So I'm going to talk about the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue and then go through some other magazines of using this both in editorial and advertising as well as in the context of newspapers. So I'm going to set up what I'm going to summarize in the talk, but basically I want to go through the best practices. So when you're doing print to mobile, putting tags in magazines, newspapers, or other print media, how do you get the best results? And it comes down to really understanding your audience, being consistent, having frequency, more places, and using it on a consistent basis, as I said, having a compelling call to action, and some type of expectation. So a lot of times, if you do not deliver on what the call to action is, you will not get people coming back. And basically, placement. These are all standard marketing things, but I can show you directly how this works in magazines. So this year's swimsuit issue had 4 tags in it. There was one on the table of contents, one on the section for the model search itself, one on an app promotion page, and another one on a 4-page foldout. So first of all, first thing you'll notice is the advertisement. What happened was you give a tag to a graphic designer. The first instinct is to bury it. It doesn't fit with the branding. It looks funny, so they bury it. And so therefore, this will cause a much poorer response. On average, this page, even though it's beautifully laid out and designed, these pages here got 10 to 12 times more responses than that page. And it all came down to placement. Then within these pages, the outer two actually had 1.5 to 2.5 times the responses of the middle one. Now, obviously, you have the women in the outer two, but it's also in the middle one you really don't know what to do. It doesn't give you any instructions. And even though the most compelling content is actually behind door number 2, if you will. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit, we'll dig in a little bit about what the types of post-scan experiences are, as well as the different things to optimize response rates. So in the first case on the table of contents, you scan it, you get a landing page. When you get to that branded landing page, you also in the second one, when you scan it, you get the same landing page. And in the case here is when you click on the video, you get to watch the kind of the highlight sizzle reel, if you will. And if you click the download to download app, it detects what phone you're on, in this case an Android phone, and you automatically go to download the app. In the model search page, you go to a richer branded action page, if you will. So you scan this tag and you get the option to go to a gallery, the ability to vote, download the app, or go to the sponsors, the promotion site. So when you click on the video gallery, you get the ability to play the videos, and if you get on click on the voting, you obviously get to vote. What I want to say about here is, if you have compelling content and engaging, the ability to participate, you have very good conversion follow-on rates. 70% of the people that scanned voted. 55% of the people that scanned watched the videos. So it's a very high conversion rate. And again, unfortunately, that center piece, what triggered this design, was not as optimally designed to get the call to action, but once the call to action happened, you had a very high conversion rate. So in addition to being able to watch videos and vote, you're able to go to the promotional site from Nissan and go to the app download. And notice in this case, it was an iPhone, so you'll go to the App Store as opposed to the Android. On the advertisement page, the 4-page foldout, again, here's an example of going from print to mobile to social. So you scan, watch the video, and after you play the video, you're in a post-roll redirect to a page that allows you to replay the video, share it on Facebook, and so forth. It drives you back to the model search, to the ability to vote and watch the videos, as well as go to the site. So again, you're going print to mobile to social, and the social experience allows you to post the video either by email, Twitter, or Facebook. and it's a multi-channel experience. So again, you're going essentially from print to mobile to social, which can be either online or mobile or tablet, so you can experience it kind of in a multi-channel environment. So as I said before, you have the branded page before you can go to, and a repeat of the branded action page. So you have multiple paths leading to that engagement, which really helped in driving the number of votes and the number of videos watched. And then you have the full, kind of all 4 videos that were associated with the layout of the ad. That turned out strange. So one important thing along with these tags is people still, it's relatively new, people do not know kind of really what to do or what the difference is. And especially this becomes true when you actually do branding on the tags. So the great thing about at least the Microsoft tags is your ability to customize them, like 17 Magazine, or the middle there's Jessica Simpson. On the right here is Teen Vogue, which used a standard color tag. It's important to be able to, especially if you're doing custom or branded tags, you don't necessarily know that this is a symbology that says, hey, scan this with your phone. It's important to have these instructions. And you'll notice this with Microsoft Tag as opposed to QR. Most QR advertisements will just place the code, and even though it's somewhat ubiquitous now, people still really don't know what to do. And you need to have the instructions of, what do I do with this? What's the call to action? How do I scan it? And so I think there's a lot of great instances of magazines that get people scanning. And I think it's important to point out now, too, that there's a general thought that, who are the people scanning these and what are the response rates, and if I have to download an app, will I get as good a response? What I can tell you is there's 2 types of technology here. There's one where you take a picture and send it in and get back a link. It's kind of a scan and send technology. Perhaps you've heard of SpiderLink or JagTag and people like that. Versus QR readers with companies like ScanBuy or Microsoft Tag. When you download an app, it provides a superior scanning experience, 1. But 2, people are driven to do that. If you give a good call to action, people will download and scan. And the download and scan apps have had a much higher response rate than the scan and send apps. And they've really increased over last year. A year ago, a magazine could get 50,000 scans. Sports Illustrated hit 100,000 scans a year ago. And then Allure recently, in the last fall, got over 400,000 scans, and that's a circulation of 1 million. So these are all with reader-based technologies. So the engagement has really picked up over the year. Here's an example from People magazine. This is importance about consistency. This had about 250 times the scans than just a random tag that had an advertisement in the same magazine. And that one, obviously, it's the topic, it's exclusive content, so it shows the importance of exclusive content here. But also, it's the consistency. 8 weeks in a row, you had a tag in the same place with a compelling call to action. So again, the consistency is important as the content itself. Some other examples I'll just go through from publishing. Here's again another example of Timberland in Lucky Magazine going from print to mobile to social. Again, you're watching the video, and you have the ability to share it and or watch it again. You're now seeing it to actually directly convert people right off of a bill. So for a magazine, you can actually scan and actually directly sign up. And then it drives, by signing up, you're also driving to a compelling call to action, exclusive content from Forbes. Here's the most recent issue of Everyday with Rachel Ray right on the front cover. And again, this is scan to win using a classic thing. I think one of the most successful things with tagging is to not force the user to change their behavior. If you have them do something they're already used to doing, entering contests, raising their hands, a hand raiser, or doing a product sampler, if you make, the mobile phone makes it much easier. Once you scan it, you don't have to re-enter the information. So you can actually do a contest. And Martha Stewart did a very successful version of this. You had 12 tags throughout the magazine. Every time you scanned, you got an entry into the contest. And so the phone, able to know your information and do that autofill, made it much easier to enter contests, and you had a much higher response rate. So here in this case, you scan, you have the form, you have opt-ins, and it's right off the cover. And so they're driving sign-ups and stuff right off the magazine, doing something you'd normally do with print or having to tear out a card allows you to do it directly. Most recently, here's another example of very high engagement. This is USA Today putting tags, which you've probably seen on the front page of their paper. But for the sports section, they did something called mobile hoopla. And this is quite phenomenal because you had essentially a 70% conversion rate of people that scanned that actually filled out the bracket. So again, if you provide a compelling experience to the content, in this case, you go in, you're able to do your picks, And then once you've done all your picks for your bracket, you're able to actually go with your Facebook friends and use Facebook login to actually see how you compare to all your different, so you're auto-creating a pool out of your Facebook friends, and then there was a national pool. And so USA Today did a really good job combining a contest with a game-like play. And then you could then check in, and once you actually checked in, you had posts on your Facebook page, and so people could scan off of the page. So you're going from scanning out of print to scanning right out of Facebook. And it created a very high level of engagement. And then this is my last example. Here's White House Black Market that with InStyle magazine actually put the tags not only in the magazine but actually in the store. You can scan right off the tags or right out of print, and you actually get a full set of videos, sign up for direct offers, and again the social sharing. So it's really a full multi-channel experience. So just to summarize, again, it's important to understand the audience. A classic example here is AM New York, which runs tags often. They did a sweepstakes, and the response rates were equal, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 from iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry. It's a commuting crowd. Other times, you'll see a number of the kind of leaders, the early adopters in tagging, are actually a lot of the women's magazines. Traditional Home, This Old House, you'll hear from Women's Day Next, Lucky, Allure, Self. They all get very high response rates. And it is a pretty diverse audience. You'd be surprised how many people have BlackBerries because Verizon, for a period of time, were giving them away too for run. So you really need to think about this. The world is not entirely iPhone, and you really need to dig into what it looks like. Again, the consistency is important. Are the instructions the same? Is it clear? Is it used in the same place, same over time? Frequency, again, how many places? If you put it on page 37 in the gutter, your response rates will be lower. Again, the compel to action, if you do stuff that people are already responding to, as I said before, sweeps and data contests get very high response rates. And then the expectation is important. If you just if you use these tags as a shortcut to a website or to a Facebook page, you will not get the response rates and the return that you will. You know, we saw with USA Today getting a 70% conversion rate, with Sports Illustrated having very high numbers in terms of video views and voting. It's really important to deliver and provide some type of after-scan engagement. And then, of course, placement, which is a standard term. And it's the placement of where things are on the page and or on an outdoor advertisement is critical to this, which seems common sense, but again, just to reiterate, the classic problem is once you hand these off to a designer, their goal is to typically bury it and try to hide it from view, which is antithetical to what you're trying to do as a marketer. So, thank you.